Dear students, I'm Chen Xing. Welcome to my class. As a graduate student, do you need to read academic reports that contain many graphs? Are you an intern or a recent graduate who is worried about how to describe graphs? Do you want to improve your skills in writing essays based upon graphs? In this unit, we are going to learn how to think about and use graphs by dividing this topic into different parts. Each part will focus on one skill. Today, we are going to discuss types of essays based upon graphs. In the following 10 minutes, I will present you different types of graphs and provide useful expressions for your description of graphs. In a report, one can always find some graphs which may help the author visualize his or her data. As an English proverb goes, a graphic is often worth 1,000 words. A graph can represent information clearly, and readers can have an overall comprehension of what is presented. Besides, it is important to select a useful graph. Many graphs are poorly designed. For example, with the information presented in a confused fashion or with the wrong side of color contrast, which makes a graph hard to read. First of all, let's get to know the types of graphs. There are different types of graphs: table, line graph, bar graph or bar chart, pie graph, pie chart, scatter plot, 3D surface plots, flowchart. Those graphs, with their different features, are common devices for representing information visually. A table is common in reports. It has vertical columns and horizontal rows. Numbers are listed in tables, and they are of great significance. In a table, numbers can be demonstrated clearly. One can easily find the data. However, tables are difficult to read at the first sight. It may not leave deep impressions for readers, and it requires readers' effort to read. Line graphs can show continuing data, especially the trends. Points are connected in line graphs, and they form a continuous line. It can show how one thing is affected by another. The rises and falls can be demonstrated clearly in a line graph. As a result, line graphs can be used to analyze the changes of one thing during a certain period of time. Scatter plots are like line graphs, but instead of a line, data is indicated by dots or vertical bars to indicate a range of data. This may indicate that the writer does not believe that the data are as closely related as in a line graph. The vertical bars are used when the data point is a range, thus like 2 to 6 millibars. 3D surface plots are used when 3 dimensions need to be presented, such as in a topographical chart, where north, south, and elevation are shown. But this is also used as a variety of engineering and science applications. Bar graphs can compare data and show relationships between different items, so they are used to show differences. The length of bars can present trends at the same time. There are horizontal bar charts and perpendicular bar charts. Both of them can present differences. Pie charts can be used to present percentages of different items and their relationships. How part relates to the whole can be clearly shown in a pie chart. In particular, it can show percentage effectively by different colors of the chart. The size of a part indicates the amount. However, there is some data which indicates how pie charts are misleading, since humans are not good at being able to see the contrast between the size of the slice of the pie. Based on the information from graphs, one can write a report. To begin with, you can ask a question. In this way, it can help you extract information that you need and conduct the first sentence of your essay. What point is the graph making? The question can be answered by examining the title of a graph. It usually tells what kind of information the graph is presenting. In this case, you may only need to rewrite the title as a sentence, telling the readers what information it presents. If there is no title, you need to look at the labels on the horizontal and vertical axis, which are x and y axis respectively. You can find out what categories of information are presented in the graph. When you figure them out, you are ready for writing a sentence. The sentence patterns are: the pie chart gives information on the world population figures in 2001. The chart compares the ratio of single males by age group in China. You may notice that there is a subject in each sentence that indicates what we are talking about, and a verb that indicates what the graph is illustrating. You may change the verb if necessary. For example, you may also use show or illustrate. It depends on the aim of your report. You may always start your report by writing "the graph shows." But when you want to compare two items, you may change the sentence into "the graph compares." The world population figures and the ratio of single males by age group are the contents of the graphs. Finally, you may find in 2001 and in China, there are time and region, respectively, which are of equal importance in graphic writing. Let's have a look at the following examples. This pie chart represents the average weekly family expenses in Britain in 1977. This table illustrates the economic and social conditions in Japan, Canada, and Peru in 1994. This graph shows the number of full-time teachers of regular schools in China between 1960 and 1990. This bar chart describes the participation in higher education by males and females in urban, rural, and remote areas in Australia in 1989. What do they have in common? What are the subjects of the sentences? What is the tense of those sentences? All of them are charts and graphs, but when you describe them, you need to distinguish them. Bar chart is more specific than chart. We usually apply present simple tense in the introduction part of graphic writing because we are now writing a report. The contents of graphs are usually presented by a noun or a noun phrase. For example, the average weekly family expenses and the economic social conditions. The modifiers or details could be added by the prepositions such as of, in, and by. Finally, do not forget to add the region or time for your sentence. Otherwise, the introduction might not be clear for readers. Dear students, have you mastered what we learned today? Let's try to distinguish the types of graphs and try to construct the first sentence of your report. Are you ready? Here's a chart. What kind of chart? Yes, it is a line chart or a line graph. So we will start our sentence with line chart as the subject, right? Then, we're going to decide which verb we will use. There are two lines in this line graph, so we can use compare. The blue line and the red line signify different things in this chart, so we can definitely compare them. Then, the content of this chart is the title, so we only need to rewrite the title. It says, projected population aged over 65, urban and rural China, 2000 to 2040. So we can be sure that this chart shows the projected population aged over 65 in urban and rural China. Do not forget the time, 2000 to 2040. Then, double-check your sentence and read what you've written with me. The line chart compares the projected population aged over 65 in urban and rural areas in China from 2000 to 2040. Okay, how time flies. Let's sum up what we've discussed today. First, we got to know different types of graphs and their features. Then, we examined sample sentences and summarized the common features of the first sentence of an essay based on graphs, the general description of graphs. Next, we tried to write a descriptive sentence. Are you clear about how to write a report, or at least know what information to begin with? Here are some useful expressions to use as a reference. The table, chart, diagram, graph shows that. According to the table or chart, diagram, graph, as is shown in the table, chart, diagram, graph, as can be seen from the table, chart, diagram, graph, figures. It can be seen from the figures or statistics. We can see from the figures, statistics. It is clear or apparent from the figures or statistics. Are you curious about how to write the second or the third sentence? Of course, we're going to discuss them in the following videos. Hope you stay tuned and finish your report with my help. Thanks for watching. See you later.